following video has been rated by the creator as YT for YouTube viewers of all ages. For the best audio quality, the use of headphones may be recommended.
The Moonshadow Mystery channel and its affiliates make no claim to ownership or association with the topics or media discussed in this program, unless explicitly stated otherwise. This video was made for the purpose of being a form of entertainment and not for the sake of profiting from the creations, licenses, or properties belonging to other content creators or organizations. The content of this video is used and executed under the guidelines of the Fair Use Act. Be advised, the following video is a discussionary media regarding Dragon Ball Super Episode 70, Champa's Challenge. This time, we fight with baseball. In Episode 71, The Death of Goku, the Guaranteed Assassination Mission. As well as Steven Universe, Season 4, Episode 8 and 9, Gem Harvest, and Season 4, Episode 10, 3 Gems and a Baby, and may contain spoilers for anyone who has not seen any of the aforementioned episodes. Continue watching at your own discretion. Thank you. Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball Super, as well as affiliated characters, media, and locations, are the creative, intellectual, and licensed properties of Toei Animation Studios Japan, Shonen Jump, V-Jump, and Viz Media. Please support the official releases. Stephen Quartz DeMayo Universe and other affiliated characters, elements, and music are the creative, copywritten, and licensed properties and creations of Rebecca Sugar, Cartoon Network, and the Crewniverse. Please support the official releases of Steven Universe on Cartoon Network and other licensed representatives. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Moonshadow Mystery channel. As always, I am your host, Moonshadow Mystery the Changeling, and, well, if you paid attention to the opening title card and didn't just skip straight to the bulk of the matter, welcome to our second edition of Moonshadow Mystery Channel Lightning Round. What is a lightning round, you may be asking? Well, if you've seen some other YouTubers who do this very same thing, a lightning round is basically where I sum up my thoughts on a few different topics I've been meaning to touch on. Usually when I do a lightning round, like I did in my first one, I'll do it all on multiple episodes of one franchise. Well, today, because I'm so far behind, I'm compressing two different franchises. Dragon Ball Super and Steven Universe. So, without further ado, let's get started with Dragon Ball Super Episode 70. Now, if you hold on for just a moment, please, because I've actually got a whole thing of materials at my disposal right now, and I'm having to bounce things back and forth in order to see it all. Yes. Again, before I get started any further, just in case if you missed it, potential spoilers ahead if you have not been caught up with the latest episodes. Now, that being said, let's get going, starting with my thoughts on Episode 70 of Dragon Ball Super, known simply as Champa's Challenge. This time, we fight with baseball. That's right, baseball. Now, baseball has been touched on very, very lightly in the Dragon Ball franchise. We've not seen it in Super until now, but fans of the original Dragon Ball Z series, following the original Dragon Ball, will remember that Yamcha, one of the original Z fighters, actually, in his off time, started playing baseball on a professional level. However, he had temporarily quit when the Saiyans, Nappa, and Vegeta first arrived on Earth. Now, this is way a long time ago. So it's actually a nice little nod of continuity to get some older viewers reinvested. Kind of like episode 69 did, going all the way back to Penguin Village, which we've not seen since the original Dragon Ball, but I digress. Again, as the title states, it is Champa's challenge. Champa actually at first has a very kind of devious reason. He basically wants to trick Beerus into playing sports, and while everybody's distracted, he wants to sneak off and basically gorge himself on a lot of Earth's tastiest foods, despite the fact that Beerus literally wished up a brand new Earth in Universe 6 with virtually identical culture, customs, and foodstuffs, just so that Champa could be happy and be able to indulge himself. Apparently, he kind of wants to make sure he didn't get the wrong end of the deal. That's the only thing I can figure. En route to Earth, in Universe 7, he actually asks his aide, who unfortunately I can't remember her name, basically Whis' sister, what baseball is, after she had taken the moment to question his motives, saying that vigorous exercise can actually make a meal taste basically heavenly. And that is not wrong. If, like me, you've worked up a hard sweat after a long day, and you sit down to eat a home-cooked meal, or a meal of any kind, fresh, warm, it just makes it taste that much better. But again, moving on, she explains, well, not really explains, but she shows Champa through the use of her special magical abilities what baseball is. So by the time Champa gets to Earth, he has a general understanding of the sport. Now, he brings with him 3 members of Universe 6's team, basically the tournament team. You can kind of think of this as a warm-up. And as you can guess, the episode is, for the most part, filler, but this is one of the periods where in Dragon Ball Z where the filler is done right. I called the last episode filler done wrong, simply because if you've not been a fan since the very, very beginning, or even since the manga, you're not going to understand who certain characters are. This time, if you've been watching since Dragon Ball Z, or even just since the start of Dragon Ball Super, it all makes sense. So this is good filler, in my opinion. But again, he brings 3 members of his team, and if you'll give me just a moment, I will list those members off. The Mechanized Man, Automagetta, I think I'm pronouncing that right. The Winnie the Pooh looking wrestling bear character, Botamo, and Universe 6's first ever Super Saiyan, Kaba. Who, if you look at him, he looks somewhat like a Universe 6 Vegeta, which makes sense given the nature of his connection with Vegeta in the series so far. So, however, since he's only got those 3 members with him, he actually needed 2 more to round off his team, since he's actually competing. Beerus, on the other hand, decided to be the coach and sit it out. So, what do? Vegeta and Goten actually temporarily are on Universe 6's baseball team. Whereas Universe 7, we have, of course, Yamcha, Goku, Trunks, Piccolo, Gohan, and there was a 6-person other. It wasn't, and I'm really having a little bit of trouble figuring out trying to remember who it was. Oh yeah, Krillin. Normally I never forget Krillin, but I had almost forgotten he was in this episode, because you don't really see much of him. There actually is a little bit of a comedic factor in this, in that basically nobody other than Yamcha truly understands what baseball is. Needless to say, some antics ensue, Goku having no understanding, unfortunately, powers up as much as he can during his first pitch, and nearly destroys a huge amount of property. Actually, he does destroy it. Thankfully, Whis and his sister fix it. And unfortunately, Goku gets carded, basically. I know carding is more of a football, soccer thing, but basically Whis gave him an ultimatum. No more destructive things from Goku or he's out of the game. And this is basically a rule that's set on up early on in order to discourage people getting unnecessarily rough. There's not really enough here to get heavily into, but let's just say that it's pretty much a fairly tied game for the most part. And when Universe 6 comes up to bat, I mean, Goku actually does successfully strike out 3 different people, Champa included. Which is fairly impressive given he's never pitched before. No, wait, Goku strikes out 1 person, then Yamcha takes over. Because Beerus was getting a little flustered with Goku. Understandable. Now, after Universe 6 takes over with the pitching, it's Vegeta doing the pitching. And when Goku comes up to bat, they hit it hard. I mean, we're talking about Super Saiyan on Super Saiyan. Thankfully, he didn't get too out of hand with that. Unfortunately for Yamcha, though, he takes a heck of a beating throughout the whole thing. Unintentionally. I mean, he's playing fair and square, but because nobody really understands the rules, Yamcha gets hit over and over. Matter of fact, he is Vegeta's first pitch, and Vegeta nails him. No, wait, he's Vegeta's... Yeah, he's Vegeta's first pitch. Goku's the second. But Vegeta nails him with the baseball, like, right in the side as hard as he can. It's actually a miracle Yamcha survived. It hit him so hard. And then, needless to say, every time someone gets the ball, Champa especially, he ends up hurt more and more. Actually, things escalate until Beerus and Champa get into it, and unfortunately start sparring. And you know what happens when Gods of Destruction spar, things start getting destroyed. Now, the funny thing is, during all this commotion, Yamcha is even hurt as bad as he is from everything happening to him, successfully steals every base. And by the time Whis calls the fighting off and calls the game to a close, Yamcha is the only one on either team to score a single point. And that is the one thing this episode did right, is give Yamcha a reason to be important again and to show that he's not completely useless despite what a lot of the fanbase says about him. Unfortunately, they added insult to injury by having him touching home plate in the same pose he died in during the Saiyan saga against the Cybermen. And unfortunately, everybody who was there when it happened remembers it, and it is kind of a funny but morbid callback. Now, moving on to my thoughts on episode 72. Correction, 71. 72 would be this Sunday. It should be if it didn't get caught up because of the holiday, and it might have. They may have postponed it. But episode 71, The Death of Goku. The Guaranteed Assassination Mission. Now, this starts off... I mean, the title alone, you know something bad's going to happen. But it starts off by showing the fact that Goku is dead. And then kind of Sin Cities it by showing everything that happened leading up to that point. Basically, someone, we don't know who, hired Hit from Universe 6 to assassinate Goku. I can only guess that maybe it was Champa trying to avoid any real competition during the major tournament between all the different universes held at the Omni King's request. Hold on for just a moment, if you please, everybody. My apologies, everyone. That was a phone call. As you probably guessed from the ring. Live recording often has this funny little thing with things like that. But anyway, someone we don't know who. The only thing we can do is speculate. Now, my guess is it's probably Champa hired Hit to kill Goku. Now, we don't really get a whole lot other than we see Goku through most of the episode acting very cautious. Apparently, he got some sort of word or in advance that someone was after his life, or just his natural fighting instincts has told him that fact. My guess is someone informed him, or maybe even Hit on his own and sent word ahead so that he could meet with Goku one-on-one. I don't know. It unfortunately does not touch on that fact. But as we see through the episode, Goku is acting very cautious, very wary. He's kind of trying to find where this guy is. And through a good chunk of it, we see a lot of commentary on he's not acting himself. And we see that early on because he's eating slowly, like seriously 1 grain of rice at a time, keeping his eyes shut. Now, a lot of people may think that's where he's keeping his eyes shut. But because he knows it's Hit, it makes sense. Mind you would have had to have seen the first Universe 6 versus Universe 7 tournament. But Hit is able to move at such a speed that Goku relies on his hearing to tell where Hit is. Now eventually we see Gohan and Goten tracking Goku through town as he's running errands for Chi-Chi, before he ultimately ends up in the middle of the road and Bulma crashes her car into him. And eventually at Gohan and Vidal's place, they meet up for a barbecue, and they get to the nitty-gritty. Goku has been hiding the fact that he's basically on Hit's hit list from everybody, and he doesn't want Chi-Chi to know because he knows she'll worry and try to get involved, and he doesn't want anyone getting hurt. Classic Goku. Now, eventually Piccolo catches on that Gohan's been acting a little strange and concerned regarding Goku, and when Gohan tells him, Piccolo immediately gets freaked out because he remembers how strong Hit is, and given that he forced Goku to nearly destroy his own body by going Kaioken times 10 in Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan mode, aka Super Saiyan Blue, it's an understandable concern to have. Without anyone knowing, Goku left. Now, before this one, we see a little thing with Hit taking care of a mission. It's really kind of pointless, other than just to show that Hit's the one going after Goku, and to show just how effective and strong he's become. Now, when he and Goku do meet, it's out in the middle of nowhere. The area kind of reminded me of where Goku and Bulma first met Yamcha, but hard to pin, but not quite. But anyway, Hit no longer relies purely on his ability to freeze time. He can now actually turn his body momentarily intangible. And he's able to redirect his ki energy in a strong enough force that he's basically able to punch with his ki with enough force to leave a fist indentation in his opponent's torso, and use his ki to actually stop the heart. Now, one good thing about Hit is, one, he will not kill you from behind. He does have a sense of honor. And two, because he respects Goku so much, he gave Goku the option of just disappearing and letting him live. But Goku being Goku, he wouldn't have it. He wouldn't be the Saiyan we all know and love if he did that. Now Goku goes Super Saiyan Blue thinking that he can take Hit. And of course we find out Hit's intangibility factor. And then Hit takes a pose similar to this with his fist outstretched. And Goku thinks there's no way he can hit me from there. Well, what happens? He hits him from there. And Goku goes down. His ki blast goes up in the air, basically signaling his location, although probably unintentionally. And then he falls dead. He's literally dead on discovery when Goten, Gohan, and Piccolo arrive, and Hit's gone. Now, Hit did make a comment that he would visit Goku when they got him buried and his headstone set up. He does. I don't know why he does it, but this is something he does. I guess it's his way of paying his respects to the people he took out, because, again, it's nothing personal, it's literally just business. And he does accept the fact that it is a life he is taking. Now, I have no idea what episode 72 is going to be hold, because I do not stay tuned for the hint I don't like it. Too many spoilers. Like, movie trailers are like that. It gives way too much away early on. So, let's transition out of Dragon Ball Super and into Steven Universe. Now, several weeks ago, like way before Thanksgiving, I announced that I would be doing my first thoughts on this and I'd be doing something special. Unfortunately, I did not get to do a live reaction to this like I would have liked to, and I do sincerely apologize for that fact. Unfortunately, I missed the air date. Like, I completely missed it. I have no excuses beyond that. But episode 8, Gem Harvest, is our second half-hour long episode. And as I said earlier, it is technically counted as episodes 8 and 9. They do that way they can break it up and air it as two separate episodes, as a two-parter, kind of how they did with Jailbreak. Well, actually, Jailbreak was the second half of that episode, but it wasn't technically a full half-hour episode. Anyways, we see early on that Lapis and Peridot are feeling lonely. They enjoy the barn, they enjoy being crystal gems, but because they live in the barn, it's really lonely. And Peridot even mentions that she misses the pitter-patter of soldiers marching around. And them having done a lot of research on human culture as of late, thought that they would be able to grow crops and they would generate into soldiers like a gemstone would, because theoretically the way it works is similar. Now, naturally, that is not the case, and as Peridot and Lapis kind of walk off feeling defeated and kind of heartbroken because they were wanting to add to their family, basically, the crystal gems being part of that family, but they wanted to add to the family at the barn. Steven feels really bad, and he uses his power on some pumpkin seeds. What happens the next day he comes back? There's excitement because the pumpkin grew into a dog. This isn't the first time we've seen this. I mean, there's a watermelon pooch on Super Watermelon Island, after all. It goes straight for Steven. Peridot takes credit at first because she thinks that this was her doing. And given that she's never seen this happen before, it's kind of a believable thing to happen. But Steven can't lie to them. He wanted to see them happy, but he can't lie to them. He's too good of a guy. And when he reveals that, they get a little hurt. So he tries to make things better by showing them the Earth tradition of pumpkin carving. Unfortunately, the pumpkin pooch doesn't really take to this very well. It actually, and it's done in such a way that it's comedic but gory. Like, not gory, but as he's carving the pumpkin, the juices, the seeds, the pumpkin guts going everywhere, and it's freaking stuff out. But of course, Peridot's laughing because now it likes her and Lapis better. But then they're interrupted. We hear a single prop plane overhead that comes in for a landing. Well, it turns out that this person is, technically speaking, the rightful owner of the barn. Well, sort of. I mean, it's basically, his name is Andy DeMaio. Now, as y'all know, I do try to keep things PG as much as possible, with certain exceptions such as my Fallout impersonation video. And that's purely that was purely done for the sake of keeping true to the characters I was impersonating. But any of the adult viewers out there who are familiar with the series Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Andy DeMaio is voiced by the same voice actor who voices Carl. And it's really noticeable because he has kind of this mix of Jersey, the Bronx kind of thing. But naturally, he's kind of freaked out, and right away he seems a little, not really off, but out of touch, because his first thought when he sees Lapis and Peridot isn't aliens, it's hippies. Not even joking, hippies, and he mentions having heard about it on the radio, which means he's not exactly a television guy. It means he's probably a little bit older than Greg. And he does appear to be that way. Or at least roughly the same age, but not aging quite as gracefully. And we have to remember the hippie culture kind of continued into the 70s. But moving on! Steven tries to clear the air. I can't really remember every little thing that happened, but eventually Greg shows up, and we get some clarification that he is Steven, well, Greg's cousin, which makes him Steven's cousin. But he wants Steven to call him Uncle. Now remember that last name, DeMaio, or DeMaio rather. That is actually Greg and Steven's real last name. Apparently, when Greg got into the music industry, he legally had it changed to Universe, which is not entirely uncommon. There's a lot of people who do that for showbiz purposes. We do see a lot of light-hearted ribbing between the two of them, but we also see that Andy is really set in his ways, like seriously family-oriented and kind of dead fast in some of his traditional views. Well, Steven thinks the best way to remedy the situation, getting the entire collective of his family together, as far as the ones there in Beach City. So, he gathers everyone at the barn, which is one of the things Andy freaked out about the most, because that's, again, his aunt and uncle's things, and he's not particularly happy about it. But he gives everybody there at the barn, Pearl, Amethyst, Garnet, everyone except for Connie, unfortunately, which, given that this is the Thanksgiving special, makes sense. She was with her family. Personally, I think the episode would have been 10 times better if Connie had been there, but nothing you can do about it. Maybe next year. Something to look forward to. Anyways, we do see that there's a nice dynamic here. The gems work together to gather all the crops that that Lapis and Peridot have grown in order to make a traditional harvest feast. Andy, of course, comments about how there's no meat, so the crystal gems, along with Peridot and Lapis, go to town in order to get some more supplies, meat, dessert, etc. While they're gone, Andy does make a comment how it's nice that some of this old junk has been recycled, including some of the airplane parts, which were mangled together in order to create this makeshift cooker. Again, I don't want to spoil too much, but the gems get back. Most of the veggies are pretty much done. And on that same art, while they're cooking, the way they're cooking the veggies is ingenious. Steven generates his shield and basically uses it as a wok to basically steam cook the vegetables over the cooker, which shows he's getting more and more skilled at using his shield as more than just a defensive item, because after he puts it on there, it stays on there, it doesn't disappear. So we're getting a lot of progress with Steven's powers, and I'm thoroughly impressed by that. Anyway, the gems show back up. First thing Lapis does is give Andy a tombstone. He busts out laughing. And of course, commenting on and there's a lot of commentary here about relationship statuses and whatnot. Again, Andy's really traditional, and he puts a lot of emphasis on the fact that Greg never married Rose. Rose is gone. All this other stuff. Pearl and Garnet, laughably, make a comment about how they should all be married and get a cake with a bunch of bride and groom groom and groom kind of stuff on there, kind of for emphasis. I literally busted out laughing at this part. It's really good symbolism. And Andy's actually the one that comments how they should start with dessert since everything's a little bit backwards right now. And they do. He cuts a piece of the cake, passes it to the person next to him, which gets passed until it's all the way back to him. Because naturally, most of the gems don't really eat. They can eat, but they don't eat. Minus Amethyst, but this is the one time we don't really see her eat. However, we do make a comment how she guzzled a bunch of cooking oil, and she proceeds to burp purple fire. Which a lot of fans have theorized maybe because of her unique way she is, maybe that's a secret power of her she doesn't know she has. Time will tell. But as they're all sitting there, all talking, everyone's trying to enjoy one another, they make a lot of these little jokes. Peridot about the harvesting thing, Lapis about being trapped, the gems about fighting and whatnot. It's nice to see that they can poke fun at their own flaws and their own past, and it really shows a lot of growth. It's just sad that so much of this growth happens off screen, but I do understand the reasoning behind it. As all this is going on, everyone's laughing, Andy's looking at the cake, realizing that so much around him has changed, and gets up, tells them that they can keep the barn, and he flies off. Steven doesn't understand, so he has Lapis carry him after Andy, and Andy flips the heck out because he's concerned about Steven's safety. Lapis drops Steven onto the plane, Steven climbs in, ends up in the passenger seat, and they have a heart-to-heart. And we really see that, Steven wants Andy in his life. Andy wants to be in his life. Andy has missed out on so much. And seeing all that kind of really hit home to him that maybe he's made a mistake flying around the world so much. That maybe it's partially his fault why a lot of stuff happened the way it happened. They fly back to the barn. And it really ends in a very lighthearted, positive way. Now, if you've not seen Gem Harvest, I recommend going online to the iTunes Store, the Cartoon Network app. It may even air on Cartoon Network sometime soon. Who knows? But check it out if you get a chance to. It's a really good episode, and there is really no such thing as, a filler episode in Steven Universe. So this is probably all going to come back to us. Now, last but not least, Episode 10, 3 Gems and a Baby, which to me is already a hilarious title because it's a nice nod to an 80s movie, 3 Men and a Baby. Really funny. But it's winter. Snow's falling heavy. Greg, Steven, and the Gems are in the beach house by the fire. Steven comments how he's never seen so much snow before, which is a blatant lie because during his last winter thing with Connie, it was way more snow than that. And Pearl comments how it's not quite true, and we get a little backstory. Greg comments how, fortunately, this time he already had a song ready for this particular story. It's actually a catchy song. I wish I could play it here for you, but I don't want to get in trouble with copyright things and whatnot, and I'm already further along than I intended to be time-wise. But it turns out that enough time has passed that Vidalia and Yellowtail are already together. Sour Cream is a little older, like 7, maybe 8 years old. Steven is still a little bitty baby, like newborn, almost. Like, we know the fact that his birthday's in the summer, so he's at least 6 months old at this point. But Vidalia and her family aren't there. We know that Onion is younger than Steven, so her and Yellowtail have just started dating. But they're not there, and they're letting Greg and Steven stay there, since Greg basically lives out of his van. While they're there, the Gems show up with a bunch of gifts. Most of them still are getting used to the fact that Rose is gone and Steven is Steven. Well, Amethyst more than anything. And they bring a lot of ridiculous stuff. Like diapers. Sounds practical, right? Wrong. They're adult diapers. Pearl brings the most balanced thing, which unfortunately is a dictionary, because she feels that Steven will need to learn to speak. Good idea, but a little over the top. Garnet brought shaving gear, which Greg could definitely use. But they definitely don't understand Steven at all. During this point, Greg is fighting with Steven to keep his shirt buttoned, but Steven keeps unbuttoning where his gem is, which is an aspect he gets from Rose, because remember, Rose always had her gem exposed. And for the most part, even though he wears his shirt covering it most of the time, Steven does prefer to have his gem basically at the ready. I don't remember what happened per se, the wording of it, but something's going on, and Steve and Greg goes to look at this parenting book. Oh yeah, Steven's gem starts glowing, and it makes the gems wonder if maybe it's Rose trying to get out or try to speak to them. Greg's not sure, and he's trying to check this parenting book to see if maybe there's something in it about it. Naturally, there's not going to be, but by the time he gets back with the book, they're gone. They've stolen his van with Steven. Amethyst is the only one coming. How do you think it was right to just take Steven without telling him? The others try to reason it out, that of course it's right, they know what's best in this case. Well, Amethyst is trying to get Steven to shapeshift back into Rose. Garnet explains that it's not that, it's fusion, which he's not entirely wrong. But, you know, to that, Amethyst makes a point how Steven's been Steven longer than the time she took the form of a toilet. I don't even want to know the story to that one, to be perfectly honest. So she asks what's so fun about being a baby. She turns herself into one, has Garnet pick her up, and goes, okay, I get it. But again, Garnet thinks it's fusion, so she unfuses and reveals Ruby and Sapphire, who unfortunately don't talk. Steven flips out. He cries horrendously, because wondering where Garnet went. So she fuses back together. Now during this time, Greg is borrowing a dog, a snow sled, to try and chase after them. Now Pearl pulls over and gets into the back and thinks that the only reason Rose can't reform is because the gem is in Steven. And things get momentarily really dark. Now there have been a few fan comics out there where it's shown this side of Pearl's mentality, how she at one point may have tried to get the gem out of Steven, trying to get Rose back. I didn't think that they were going to go there, and they went there, and I was just in shock. Thankfully, all she did was touch it and then let go, because she respects Rose's decision. She doesn't understand it, but she respects it. Greg shows up being chased by the dog pulling the sled, which is funny in its own right. Jumps in, and basically they decide they all have to work together to figure this out. And flash forward to the present. You know, it's a simple episode. A good backstory episode for sure. Personally, I would like to have seen some more episodes leading up to this point. You know, maybe some episodes of Rose dealing with pregnancy, with the gems dealing with it. But, you know, there's still time in the future. Hopefully we'll get to see it. We might not. Anyway, that's been my lightning round. What do you think? Do you agree with any of my thoughts? Do you have any do you have any views that are maybe contrary to my own? Feel free to leave those in the comment section down below. If you like this video and want to see more, please click the like button. If you dislike this video, feel more than welcome to click the dislike button. No one's going to blame you. If you want to see more videos like this, please click subscribe. And feel free to click my name above the video description in order to see what other videos I've already got out there, including my other lightning round video, which was for Dragon Ball Super, my other Steven Universe commentary, My Little Pony, Equestria Girls, etc. Again, thank you all for being so patient. I know this took a long time to get made, but it is the holiday season now, which means that a lot of stuff's going to take more time than normal. So, again, thank you for the patience with that. Now, because it is so close to the end of the year, I don't know if I'll get any more videos made before the new year hits. I will do my best to see what I can make, but this will more likely be the last video, at least until after Christmas. Now, just so everyone knows, my schedule for doing this might be a little more strained. I am in the process of trying to get a job, so depending on whether or not I land it is going to depend on the frequency in which I can continue doing these videos. I will be trying my best, but unfortunately I can make no promises. I hope you all understand that. Anyways, thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate your viewings, and I look forward to making more videos for you in the future. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Joyous Kwanzaa, Happy Holidays, and all my fellow bronies out there, Happy Hearthswarming. Hope you all have a safe, warm, fun, and drama-free holiday weekend up ahead of you. And remember, as always, I'm Moonshadow Mystery the Changeling, saying, don't go changing for anyone but yourselves. Thank you, everyone. Have a pleasant holiday weekend and a good rest of the week. And if I don't see you before the new year, good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Just a little movie reference. Let's see if you can guess it. If you can guess what movie that's from, leave it in a commentary down below. And stay tuned for the credits where you can see other ways in which you can get in touch with me, make contributions, etc. So again, thank you, and take care, everyone.
Moonshadow Mystery the Changeling, also known as Compound Eyes and Moonlight Shadow, is the original character, and by extension, creative and intellectual property of its creator, Darren self, better known as Moonshadow Mystery the Changeling. If you'd like to contribute to this channel, wish to submit fan art, make more extensive suggestions for critique, or like to view other creative content associated with this channel or its creator, then you may do so by using the links available in the video description, which are as follows: Skype, Moonshadow Mystery, Darren, self, Gmail, selfdarren1@gmail.com, DeviantArt, http://greatdragonseru.deviantart.com, Facebook, www.facebook.com/darren.self.12, Twitter @Moonshadow_Mist, spelled MYST, SecondLife @Moonshadow Mystery, otherwise known as darkryu.burner. Patreon is currently unavailable and is pending payment method verification.